thing about navigating uncertainty. If you do not have a structure that helps you break down time into smaller chunks, it is like setting off onto an adventure into the grand abyss that it's just like the black hole. And, even Indiana Jones, the most, courageous hero who's like, go out on that adventure and I'm going to give you no map and we don't know when you're coming back. It would freak them out. It would freak me out. And so if you feel freaked out, if you get anxiety, if you are, not feeling strong and stable about whatever uncertainty, change, transformation you either chosen or has chosen you, there's a structure that is essential for walking through uncertainty from a place of feeling more centered to not what I call fall off into the wobbles. Going through uncertainty, I can't promise you it's not going to be challenging. Of course it's challenging. Why do we think most people don't do it? And why they run back? There's the pioneers who got to Kansas and said, I'm going back to Boston because it's too uncertain what's out there in the West, right? And that's a metaphor for our own lives. So, we don't want to be scaredy pants and run back. We also don't want to just root down in no man's land, but we got to have that courage to go forward. But here's the thing, when you're navigating uncertainty, you're stretching yourself. And when you're stretching yourself, you're going to have what I call the wobbles, and fear is going to come up, and anxiety is going to come up, and worry, and all that primal fear that is imprinted into your body is going to get triggered. The question is, do you have the tools you need to re-find your center? So if the wobbles happen, kind of like being a sailboat, you don't capsize. You might be on the edge for a while. It might make you a little seasick for, a little bit, but you're able to find center. And that's my job. My job is to work with leaders. And for me, a leader is anyone who chooses to be the leader first in their own life and then chooses to be an example of living their life to influence that which they care about. There are too many people who are called leaders that don't have these deeper skills. And so they're leading people, right off a cliff instead of actually leading them in a sustainable way. So I'm going to share another model here with you. And this is part of the series that we're doing on models and tool structures to think about navigating uncertainty. Because if you look around at how most of us have been trained and educated, our education system hasn't prepared us for this. Our on-the-job training hasn't prepared us for this. The reason I know all of this is because I took 20 plus years and studied indigenous wisdom and yogic wisdom and feminine wisdom, and then took that into my life to learn how do we actually walk through uncertainty as I've made change and lapped over and over again. Whether it was selling a house and becoming a nomad, or it was leaving my corporate steady paycheck to try my hand at being an entrepreneur. There's so many things. Whether it was finishing my MBA and moving to California to follow my dream of working in fashion without a job. So many times. And this is the thing about uncertainty, is that you build up that resilience over time, just like any muscles. But what I found was I had not really been prepared through my traditional training. And even the traditional things they were telling me were so mental. They were not addressing me as a human. And they were also keeping me divorced from a deeper level of wisdom that comes from being in relationship to the physical world, to nature, of which you and I are a part of, and how things actually happen in the natural cycles. And if you think about the natural world, it's been doing what it's been doing. We have the 4 shifts, the 4 seasons. It happens no matter what's going on in the political scene or the government scene or the healthcare scene. And so you can find stability in that. You can find a centeredness in that. Meaning if you harmonize yourself, your rhythm, your yearly rhythm to how the cycles of the year actually work, you will be more calm and centered. You will stay more stable. And you'll approach your life more like a sailboat that has a strong centerboard, has a strong rudder, has a purpose, has a destination, but can move with the winds and the waves and tack and tack and tack, versus a speedboat who, if get knocked off course, doesn't know what to do. So take a look at this image. This is an image that comes from my Feminine Wisdom School, which is a school where we practice these deeper levels of wisdom and apply them practically to how we run our lives, our businesses, our teams. And it's also when I do leadership work and really helping people create a strong rhythm to their life, we use the structure. Now, this doesn't look like a clock, but it is. And if you look closer, it's a clock and it's round. So all clocks are round, right? But it's a clock of the natural cycles. And so you have on the bottom the December solstice. On the top, you have the June solstice. And I printed out a picture here so I can look at it, even though I have it deeply ingrained in my being because I run my life this way. And then you have the equinoxes this way, right? So the solstices are the beginning, that winter solstice, the December solstice is a time of reflection. And then we kind of come up, right? So if you think about in the northern hemisphere, it's cold here. It's winter, even if you're in Los Angeles. And I know in the southern hemisphere, it's switched, but it's still the end of the year. And so that's that natural time of slowing down. If you think of it like that, the midpoint is like a horizon line. That solstice, why it's like a dark time of the year. If you look at nature, it's resetting itself. The trees are losing its leaves, things are going quiet. And then we kind of come up to what's called March equinox. And the equinoxes are these times of rebalancing. They're a time of shifting your patterns, shifting your habits, looking where the imbalances are and getting rebalanced and reharmonized. And that spring equinox, interestingly enough, used to be the start of the year. March equinox was the start of the year. And then Julius Caesar changed it around 1 BC. Who knows why? But it explains a lot. But in this case of uncertainty, just looking at like, okay, so these are kind of like quarter points. And that equinox part is a time of like emerging. And then we come up to the June solstice. And we go back down to equinox, which is another time. We come back around and I do a whole class on this alone that takes over an hour to really go through. But for right now, I think the important part to share with you from an uncertainty perspective and a tool is that at these quarter turns in December, in March, in June, in September, you want to pause. And you want to take a breath and you want to say, okay, where am I? Where have I been? What's just happened? And now how do we go from here? And instead of just making it like in the business world, it's like we think of things in quarters, right? Like January, February, March, April, May, June. So the business world has totally taken this on, but it doesn't really have any meaning other than our fiscal year. Q1, Q2, Q3, it's taken out all of the wisdom, taken out all of the connection to our natural cycles. I'm asking you to bring it back in because this is where your power is that if you think about, okay, I'm standing right here, wherever you're at right now, and you just look to the next quarter, next to the next solstice or the equinox, that next quarter part, where do you focus from here to there? And then knowing, okay, like I'm going to go to there and then I'm going to stop. And it's kind of like, I think of it almost like a little rainbow. It's like a rainbow or like a container, I'm here and I'm going to walk over the span to this next place. And then I can take a breath and relax knowing that if it's March right now, and I'm saying, okay, here's where I'm going to focus till the middle of June 21st-ish is around solstice. Okay, I can do that. I can break that down. And then I know at June solstice, I'm going to take a power pause. And I'm going to stop. I'm going to reflect. I'm going to reset. I'm going to reharmonize, realign, and then I'm going to refocus. And then I'm going to do the same from that June solstice down to September equinox. And then again, September equinox down to December. And it goes all around. So the practice is the power pause. The model and the structure is looking at your year as a circle, not a linear calendar. And then creating these shorter time spans that are actually in alignment with the way the universe naturally works and the way the earth naturally works. And then practicing what I call a power pause, which is more than I'm going to go into right now, but basically it's a reflect, reset, realign, and then refocus. And we do different things at each of those 4 points. And the new one, so you can always come join me for those. But for right now, just take a look. Where are you? And if you're just to focus to the next quarter point, what would be 3 things that you could say, you know what, I know that I'm going to focus here. And there are some things that are still in the mystery. What those are. Oh, I just brought in another structure. This is a structure that I put in Overwhelmed and Over It to help us navigate uncertainty, but I'll just give it to you anyway. So you know where you're standing here. What do I know? Say the 3 things you know. And then what's still in the mystery? And just be able to say, that's still in the mystery. That's another tool for navigating the unknown. Admit you don't know everything. It's in the mystery. And that's part of what we were in this crazy banana world. We've been so taught to believe, I have to know it. I have to know it. If I don't know, there's something wrong. That's actually not true. And we'll talk about that in the next video.